YouTube, and welcome back to a video after all this time. So yeah, E3, time for thoughts and reviews. At the rate it's been since I put up videos, it nearly feels like it's last E3, since I made one. It feels so out of practice and actually feels so weird, especially now that I've changed camera and have a light pointing right at me. It's very hard to see. So I'm literally coming to the light. Anyway, E3 2014. Thought I'd just give my thoughts and opinions on the press conferences and the kind of, I guess, the show floor stuff and whatnot that's occurred in the first day or so, i.e. Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and a little bit about some of the other stuff. And we may as well get straight in and do the little bit of the other stuff. So you got EA's press conference. I think expecting EA's press conference to be anything other than the same thing year after year with the same franchises rehashed is a sign of madness. It's always going to be the same, so I'm never interested. And to a certain degree that same goes for Ubisoft. I mean, I do actually enjoy their games, or some of the games, and they are fairly good at presenting their games. But I don't have the interest to tune in. I don't know. I feel Ubisoft use a lot of smoke and mirrors too. You know, you've seen it with Watch Dogs, kind of what it looked like and what was delivered changing, and they use a lot of CGI as well. So it's, you know, I take what they show you with a pinch of salt. But the platform holders, I guess, are always the most interesting. We'll start with the kind of current leader, if you will, with the PlayStation 4, of course, and that's Sony. Sony, to me, gave a press conference that was very much playing it safe, reasonable, nothing remarkable, very much by the numbers press conference. I think in a few years' time it'll be completely forgotten, and what happened in that one? Don't know. They showed some good stuff. That's not to say it was bad. There was some nice looking games. You really have to see what they're like when you get to play them, because a lot of times you couldn't really tell what the gameplay was going to be about, and a lot of time you couldn't even tell if it was CGI cinematic or not. And in some cases it most definitely was a CGI trailer. Ubisoft, of course, guilty of that, and I'm guessing that was what the case was Uncharted 4 reveal at the end. Now, if that wasn't, that looked incredible, but chances are it's just CGI cinematic. So I don't know. That just tells you there's another Uncharted game coming out. Great, but you know, we need more than CGI, I think, in this day and age, especially with this supposed next generation being super high definition and all this sort of stuff. You should be wowing me with the real game content, not with CGI. And just to kind of veer off a little, that actually comes up in Microsoft's conference too. They had the world premiere of Assassin's Creed Unity. It's Assassin's Creed. If you've played them, it's going to be similar mechanics, albeit this time with 4-player co-op. But of course, the trailer, while very nice, really liked the music too, was all CGI pretty much. And from the gameplay I've seen, there's quite a step down from that CGI trailer to the game. The game looks good, but the CGI is quite a league above that. And I don't know. Again, why are you doing that? If you have confidence in your own game, you should be able to just show the in-game stuff. But anyway, that's another rant, I guess. So yeah, Sony. They started off the good number of Sony brand kind of games. But weirdly, now that I'm thinking on it, and I don't have notes prepared like I have done in past years, it's kind of escaping me other than Uncharted, which they ended on. I know they had Little Big Planet 3. I think there was Far Cry was shown, but that's going to be cross-platform. Batman Arkham Knight, that's cross-platform. Mortal Kombat, cross-platform. There was a space shooter one, and it was like Under a Night Sky, or I can't remember. that looked quite good, I have to say. But I think you need to play. We need more information to determine if it's kind of artistically interesting versus a good game. And speaking of artistically interesting, one curious point was that after the conference day, there was questions about The Last Guardian, which was shown in the early days of PlayStation 3, and apparently it's not cancelled, it's still coming. I was like, okay, no rush, lads, no rush. Just 8 years late. Got a Duke Nukem Forever situation going to be going on soon, so unless they're trying to do that, they're trying to see can they out Duke Nukem, but that's not a good thing to do. So anyway, middle of the conference then, they went into a bit of the usual slower, not quite sales pitch, but that type of material, platformy talk. And talking about PS Vita or PS TV and whatnot, and of course I can understand the strategic need to put those forward, but I don't really think that they're going to capture the imagination or even public interest as a whole in the same way maybe Uncharted will. The PS TV is interesting, but I think it's going to end up fighting in a similar space to Android Fire type devices, and I don't see it winning that battle. Maybe, but it's certainly the correct price anyway, I'll give them that. About $99 is there, something like that, so yeah, definitely it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. It hasn't, gone blown up crazy in Japan. It's kind of almost fizzled out, to be fair, but who knows. And the PS Vita as a whole has almost fizzled out, so it's hard to even give more opinions on Sony's one than that. I know I'm forgetting some good looking games. Was it that Bungie game, Destiny or whatever? They spoke about that, of course, and I mean it was solid. They had some nice stuff to show, but nothing that in 5-10 years time when you say that was a standout E3. Now, just to move off them, I would say that Microsoft probably had a better E3 than Sony, but maybe I'm saying that because compared to last year, they couldn't have done any worse. I mean, they basically have gone full circle now in dismantling everything they brought up last year about the Xbox One platform. Gone are most of the DRM crap. Gone is the the sharing, the pre-owned stuff. And thank crap, gone is the Kinect. I mean, they now have the bundle without it, and by God did they play it down this year. Kinect was all the rage for the last few years. They were trying to hark on about it, and that was basically Kinect what? They realised, finally, and Sony did to a certain degree as well, what people are interested in that presentation is the games. And that's the first time Microsoft have done it in a number of years, and it was refreshing, and as such I felt they improved dramatically in their presentation. They also seemed to cut a little bit of the fat out and a lot of the "we're great, aren't we?" It was still a bit there, but it seemed a little more polished. Again, as for the games, there was a lot of cross-platform stuff, so they look good. Rise of the Tomb Raider looks great. I really like Tomb Raider, the last one, so it's a bit of a funny name, because in the last one it was kind of, you could say it was the Rise of the Tomb Raider, but whatever. I'm sure that will be good as long as they keep building on the foundations they laid in the last one. And Assassin's Creed, I like the Assassin's Creed games, so I'm sure that will be enjoyable. Of course, it's only on the next gen stuff, so luckily it's not coming out till the end of this year, next year, whenever. Plenty of time. And they had some decent looking exclusives, but the only one that really stood out to me was the new Insomniac game, what was it called? Sunset Overdrive or something like that. And that was because it almost was Microsoft showing a little bit of Nintendo, where it was, we can poke fun at ourselves too. You start with this trailer of grey, you know, a space marine, or, you know, a marine type of guy behind a box, you know, and this shooty thing going on. And you think, oh, here we go again, this is another Halo, Gears of War, whatever, you know, it's one of these games. And to be fair, there was plenty of those. There was lots of Halo, there was Advanced Warfare, Call of Duty, you know, there was lots of the shooter stuff, as Microsoft fans want, so fair enough. You think this is just another one of those, and I was kind of, you know, tuning off, and all of a sudden this guy comes in out of the, you know, the door and Insomniac Games kicks open, and this guy comes in and with essentially the burst of colour type of thing, and just making fun of the whole, oh yeah, nice crate type of thing. You'd have to see it to kind of to do it justice, because I couldn't even explain what was going on, and again, it was all just a CGI trailer, so it could be utter crap. But Insomniac have a fairly good reputation. It would be interesting to see them do something new in that genre, and as such, it kind of stands out. There was another game, I can't for the life of me remember it now, the name of it. It was a very arts-looking game. It almost had a UB art vibe to it. That could be interesting. I think it's a download game. You know, they had the Forza, but I think that's also on the 360. They had, well, as I mentioned, they had like the Halo collection, Halo 5, so a lot of Halo stuff. But it was very game focused compared to previous years, and it definitely showed that they've learned a lot from prior mistakes. People aren't, when they're watching these shows, they're not going to sit down and watch the presentation to learn halfway through in a 30-minute clip about a game, but have to listen to 10 minutes of Nike something on Connect. Don't care about it. So yeah, Microsoft, pretty damn good. Now I would say they're similar to Sony, but due to the massive turnaround, I felt that they, the improvement aspect made it seem better, but overall fairly similar. So finally then, Nintendo. Now, I have to say I was quietly optimistic going into their digital event, because of course, just like last year, they didn't have a traditional press conference, and a lot of people bemoaning that, of course. But if you watch the Nintendo Directs, particularly the ones in the last few months, you'll have seen a massive change in their approach. They have become much more engaging. The kind of the what's the word I'm looking for? It's what I don't do to these videos. Production. That's it. Production quality has increased dramatically. They've done a Smash Brothers Direct, which was focused entirely on one game, and it meant that if you weren't interested in Smash, you could ignore it. But for fans like me, you actually had a big, chunky, good, well constructed, you know, a developer kind of look into the game. They also did quite amusing directs for Mario Kart and Tomodachi Life, which, to be honest, even in the case of Tomodachi Life, made me intrigued about a game that I would have had no interest in at all. So, you know, they've really stepped up the game. And they did a lovely trailer, if you will, Reggie Fils-Aimé, prior to the E3 digital event, to kind of get the word out there, if you will. And they teamed up with Mega 64, which at the time I found very curious, but it actually makes a lot of sense now. One thing that stood out to me watching the Nintendo Direct, sorry, I'm going on the Nintendo Direct, digital event, it's a Direct, was they have learned a lot about engaging their fans in that medium over the last year. The E3 last year was too dry, it was too much like a non-produced version of their presentations. It didn't have the kind of live interactive atmosphere that the presentations can have, but it kind of still felt like a presentation, you know, very vanilla. It didn't say Nintendo, really. This year, it was all about fun. And the way they, you know, I mean, within the first few seconds, he said, this is Nintendo. They introduced it with I think it was a Robot Chicken sketch of Reggie walking out on stage saying, and you thought we weren't going to have a presentation this year, type of thing. And lots of in-jokes between the wording, the phrases they used. The stage he was on was, of course, like their old E3 stages. It was almost like, of course, they had the audience, which is full of Nintendo fanboys. Where's Star Fox? Where's Mother Tree? And Reggie laser eye, blowing him up or throwing him on fire. Very funny. And it said to the fans watching it, we know and we listen. We may not do what you want us to do in that regard because it just doesn't make maybe financial sense, but we are aware. And most of the content most of the fine points of the content would only have been appreciated by fans. Like some of the phrases, some of the, you know, the lines, they just did not. They weren't for your kind of non-gaming media. The game content, the trailers, they were for the non-gaming media as well as the gaming press. The rest of the stuff was for the fans. And for that alone, they gave a better conference, if you will, than their competitors. Now, as for the content, I was actually a little disappointed. Now, by and large, that doesn't look good. I have to check, the light just went off. That is weird. Huh. For whatever reason, the light just went off, but it's still recording. It's not a low battery. So anyway, what was I to say before the light went off and disturbed me? Something about Nintendo, I imagine. What's that, Ashley? It was the E3 press conference. Yeah, I know that. No help. And anyway, yeah, the content, the games. I was a little disappointed, but only because I had been following, you know, the previous directs and whatnot, and I was aware of a lot of the stuff that was announced. So there wasn't that much new to me. And when you go into E3, you kind of want to see more new stuff. They showed I've got a bad memory on this, but the Robot Chicken stuff is just going through my head right now. They showed the new, what's the new Zelda first? Was it Yarn Yoshi first? Yoshi's Woolly Adventure, Woolly World. I have to say that looks really, really good, both from a gameplay standpoint and from an art style. It's obviously an evolution of the Kirby's Epic Yarn, but it does look like they've taken it to another level. And this time it certainly seemed more like a Yoshi game. So again, I wasn't particularly interested in it when I seen it yonks back, but it actually does look really good now. And I'm going to skip through this conference because I'm all over the place. In a similar vein, Hyrule Warriors. When I first seen that, to be honest, I thought it looked a bit rubbish. I said, okay, well, it's a Zelda, so I'll probably get it, but I know it's a Dynasty Warriors spin-off thing. But I'd say it's looking pretty nice now. Like, they've dramatically improved the graphics. They obviously must have been using placeholders, you know, stuff from at the very beginning when it was shown. And you know, I'm very curious how the Zelda elements will integrate with Dynasty Warriors. Now, I've never played Dynasty Warriors before, but hey, it's a good time to jump into the series for me. So yeah, I may as well get onto it, the new Zelda. I was really looking forward to seeing this, and in some ways quite disappointed, because there was so little revealed, like 40 seconds or so, and it didn't really tell you anything. Well, it did and it didn't. There was a lot of preamble, which was interesting, about, you know, the open world concept in Zelda, you know, from the very first game, and how they've tried to manage that. And it was a really nice transition, where you had Eiji and Uma sitting in front of what nearly appeared to be just a backdrop. You know, oh, this is just like a picture, you know, an illustration of the style we're going for. You see that mountain, you can just go to it. Which I find a little strange, because, well, yes, I understand the concept that this is one open world, like, say, Assassin's Creed. When you, say, look at Ocarina of Time, and you see that mountain, yes, you cannot just go to it, because that mountain you currently see is not the one that will be there when you get there, because you go through different transitions. But it's still effectively, you can just go to it. But anyway, that he essentially kind of clicks his fingers type of thing, and the kind of the background becomes the trailer, and it's like, oh, that's all in-game stuff. That's not just oh, here's kind of what we could do. This is it. And again, you might notice I'm saying in-game. Everything Nintendo showed was in-game. You know, a lot less smoke and mirrors than some of the other people, which was good. For the, you know, the least powerful of the systems, they were the only ones that were really just showing, this is what it looks like, this is our style. They were pushing art direction a lot, and fair enough. I mean, if it's an artistic medium, that's what you do. So, 40 seconds, you've seen a very nice looking, we'll assume it's Hyrule, and then someone on Epona being chased by an enemy, and then pretty much the trailer ends. Now, there's a lot of dynamic content if you look closely. People running away, grass burning, and all this sort of stuff. But the big thing was, is that Link at the end? You'd assume so, on Epona, but kind of effeminate, even by his standards, and he's kind of an androgynous hero anyway. So I'm curious to see where that one will go, especially given that they've come out afterwards and said, you know, no one mentioned anything about Link. Perhaps it's Zelda, perhaps it's someone else. Who knows? Curious. It was more of a teaser trailer than a full trailer, and it left me really wanting to see more, to get more answers, which I guess works, but compared to, say, the unveil of Twilight Princess, it didn't have the same punch. But yeah, so that was Zelda, Yoshi, Hyrule Warriors was Zelda again. It was also Kirby. It was I can't remember what they called it, but it was essentially claymation type of design, where you it was like the sequel to Canvas Curse. I think it's called Rainbow Curse or something like that. And I'm a little torn on this. The graphical style looks very interesting, but because it's touch based, you're going to be playing it, and as such probably looking almost entirely at the gamepad. So you have this really nice HD graphic style, but you're looking at a non-HD screen the whole time. It's always been, as I've used it with you, it's always been a little bit of a, well, I finally get to see these Nintendo games in HD. I actually don't really want to see them on the gamepad. But maybe that's just me. So they then had Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2. A bit of a surprise that they're going to include Bayonetta with Bayonetta 2. But in Europe, I have a feeling they're going to charge more for that. Pretty sure it's going to be a special edition that gets. And they also have Bayonetta dressed up as some of the Zelda, or Link, Peach, and Samus. Very odd. But interesting. I enjoyed Bayonetta 1. It was a good game. I didn't enjoy it as much as some people made it out to be, like the best game ever type of thing. But you know, it's a good enough game. Xenoblade, not my thing. It looked good. Seems to get a lot of people excited. One that I would actually probably be more interested in would be Captain Toad. I think he was just cute, and I love his little which always make it sounds to me like he's saying they burned the furniture or something like that. Maybe that's what he's doing in Toad speak. But it's surprising that that's getting a retail release. Actually, it seems more like an eShop game, but you know, fair play. Go, you know, and actually taking a concept and trying to flesh it out with bosses and all these different environments and whatnot. So yeah, I'd be interested to see that one. Hopefully though it won't be full price unless they've got a lot of levels in it. And what was there was something else. Oh yeah, there was Smash Brothers. How am I forgetting that? That was the first game. I knew Zelda wasn't first. Jeez, where am I really do need my notes. Smash Brothers. Of course I was interested to see Smash Brothers. They unveiled Mii's, and again, Nintendo proven themselves to be unique. Introduced it by having Reggie and Iwata basically having a fight, and then transferring you know, from that into the Mii's fighting. So I guess the people looking for Reggie's Mii to be in the game, he is in the game. And they finally kind of revealed the Nintendo figure platform with the amiibos, which are you know, they're going to be like your Skylanders type things, your little figures that. But the good thing is they're going to be cross-game compatible, so it's not going to be you have to keep buying a new set per each game. They should be able to be used in multiple games. A license to print money. If Nintendo do it right, I can't believe it's taken them this long. They had an NFC reader in the gamepad. They should have had those out within 6 months, frankly, of the system launching. And it's also going to be compatible with Mario Kart, so curious to see how it works. It looks like it's going to be complementary rather than Skylanders, where it unlocks characters, and I think that's a better approach. So obviously excited for Smash Brothers, but we'd seen it before. You know, I mean, it's just the way it is. Like, oh, one thing, they said summer release for the 3DS, and it's coming out in something like the 3rd of October. Fairly late for summer. At least here it is not what I would consider summer. And then they have winter 2014 for the Wii U version. I'm kind of going, to be honest, October feels a bit more like winter to me, but yeah, I can't wait for that. They also then did an unveil for Pac-Man later on as a character. Now, it was obvious Pac-Man was going to be in, given Namco's involvement. I actually thought the trailer was really nice. I love the trailers that they do for the Smash Bros. Characters. I always feel sorry for them, the characters that don't get a trailer like that. Because of course Lady Palutena was unveiled at the end of the Direct as well. So all the Smash Brothers stuff, like the Smash Direct, top notch, can't wait for it. But it wasn't blowing me away in the same way because it was all, I knew what was going to be there. The final one that was, if we thought Zelda was a tease, if we thought Uncharted 4 was a tease, my god, the last one was almost just trying to appease fanboys, if anything. And that was Star Fox on the Wii U. Because right at the end they had Miyamoto like, oh, I didn't see you there type of thing. I'm just, don't mind me, don't, you know, I'm just doing some stuff here, on you go, I'll be on the floor. And it's very clear that the game that he's playing is Star Fox Wii U. But it must be very early if they weren't willing to show even a proper screenshot. You know, so they've essentially confirmed it. As I said, there's going to be 3 different game type of modes. It looks like it's going to be focused more on action. It's going to try and utilize the gamepad, and that's all we know really. We want it out next year. They're looking for co-developing partners, which is a very interesting approach. Kind of go to E3, unveil your Star Fox game and say, anyone want to develop it for us? So yeah, it's good that we know it's coming, but strange way to do it, I guess. They also had a couple of other games Miyamoto was demoing, but not in the main show. They had Project Guard and Project Big Robot. They feel like the type of concepts you would see prior to a console launch to demonstrate its capabilities. They don't really seem fleshed out. They're nice concepts, but they don't really. I don't see the full game in them. I see a mode or maybe a minigame collection, but we'll see where it goes. I mean, I forgot one game, because I was going to say there were supposedly 3 new IPs Nintendo were working on. Those 2, and the one I forgot, Splatoon. Splatoon is typical Nintendo. It's like their approach to the team-based co-op action shooter things, where you happen to carry paint guns and turn into a squid. Because why not? Now, for that type of game, it does look really good. It looks clever, and more importantly, I would say, it's actually a new IP from Nintendo, and it's been developed by essentially junior staff, or younger developers. But they probably belaboured it a little for me, because I don't know, I just felt they dragged that a little long, but everyone else seemed to really like it, so I guess not. Now, of course it's hard to compare a Nintendo video presentation to the other 2 traditional presentations, but I would ultimately say that the video format is the better approach. And I did not think I would say that, because you lose the instant audience feedback. One, it finally allows Nintendo to inject the same sense of fun that they actually put into their games. I mean, that's the overriding thought that I had from the conference was, yeah, this shows that they can have fun. Like, I mean, the CEOs of the company and the President of America having a fisticuff fight. What other corporation